Hi guys, welcome back again to part 2 of our corset class. Okay, so this has taken me 2 days to record, guys. Trust me, because I have so many other things to do and I just want to get this over with today for the last time. So as you can see from our last class, I said I was going to use my bias maker to create some strip. So and this is my back pattern. So I just realized the strip that I have will not be able to allow me to create some style lines for the back. I still need to have style line at the back, and I also need to have style line at the side seam as well. So I'm not going to be using those strip again. Like I said, I'm trying to use some scrap fabric that I have at home before. So when I start making money from YouTube, obviously I'll be able to do better, but for now I'm just trying to manage what I have. If you watched part 2 closely, you will notice I cut out this fabric from a cloth that is old. Okay, so I'm just using scrap fabric. So the bias strip that I cut out won't be able to, I don't have enough for the back. Okay, so I'm just going to now use a store-bought bias. Okay, so I'll be using a store-bought bias, and I have my cup here and my boning, and like I said in part 1, you need your underwire as well. Okay, so don't forget that. So I'm just going to keep all of those aside, then we are going to continue. So as you can see, I've also gone ahead to join my lining. Okay, so if you are doing this for a real person's clothes, or you are doing it for your client or for yourself, you need to also add stay to your lining. Okay, but I'm not going to be putting stay on this lining, but you should put a stay in your lining. Okay, at least a cloth stay, but I'm even using a cotton lining here, which is also okay. So like I said, this is just for me to show you guys the process of sewing a corset. So I'll keep my lining aside. We are going to now be talking about this part. Okay, so the first thing I want to do now is to create any kind of style line that I want. Okay, like I said, we're not going to be making use of those strip anymore. We'll be using a store-bought bias. So now I'm going to open up my bias, and the first thing I do is to take all of my bonings. Okay, so I'm going to take my boning. So this is a Regeline boning. I showed us in the last class that you have the one that is wider and smaller. Okay, so I'm going to be matching this boning at the wrong side of my fabric. Oh, there are different ways to encase boning, so this is one of the simplest method I'm going to be showing us. Remember, like I said, this tutorial is beginners friendly, so I'm going to be showing us one very simple method to also add your boning to your corset. So these are all the style lines which I have added, and this is the joining and joining and joining that I already have before, obviously. So I'm going to flip this over to the wrong side, then I'm going to start adding my bonings like so. Okay, so now I'm going to now measure here. I'm going to move away by 0.5 inch at the top. Okay, no, for this center part I'm going to be moving away as much as 1 inch. Okay, because I still need to shape that center part. Okay, to give me the perfect sweetheart neckline that I desire. So for this upper part, I'm going to move away down by 1 inch. Okay, so I can place my boning there. So for the lower part, I'm going to move away by 0.5 inch. Okay, so this is what I do. So 0.5 inch is the seam allowance I have at the end. So then I'm going to cut this out. Okay, so this is one of my boning. So I also do the same for this part. I'll come here, I'll move away by 0.5 inch there. I'll also move away by 0.5, because you don't want to sew your boning into your seam. Okay, you don't want to do that. So I'll cut that out as well. So I'll just use this one to replicate this since they are the same. So I'll cut another one here. So now I have two. So remember, I have 2 other style lines, so I'm going to be replicating this style line at the back so I can know what I want to do. So I'm going to draw this out like so. So I'll measure the distance that I'm using here. I want to use 3 inches. Okay, so make sure you measure your distance so that I can also have the same 3 inches around here, so that they can look the same and accurate. So I'll do this. Okay, so then I'll do this, then I'll do this. So I think that's what I have on the good side, like this and like this. Okay, so I'm going to draw all of that, all of the style line that you want. Now you are going to now draw them at the wrong side, okay, as well. Just the same way you have drew them at the good side, you're also going to draw them at the wrong side, like so. So guys, after drawing all of the boning style lines, all of the style lines that you want also at the wrong side, just the same way we have it at the good side, so you draw it also at the wrong side just the way it is now. So you're also going to now be cutting out bonings for those parts. So we have already cut out bonings for these three other seam. So I'm also going to measure all of these parts, move away by 0.5 inch at the top and at the hem, then I'll cut out my bonings, okay. Just want to cut everything out so that I'll know what I need. So I'll cut this out, 0.5. So but you can just keep sewing and be cutting it, but I always like to cut out my bonings like so. So I'll place it there and move away by 0.5, also 0.5. so whatever allowance you have, okay, that is how you are going to be moving away. So but for me, I have 0.5 inch here and I also have 0.5 inch at the end. So I'm just going to be moving away from all of those seam allowance that I have to cut out all of my bonings. So now that all my bonings are done in the front, so we can now take it to the sewing machine and we'll start sewing. So now it's time for us to start sewing our bonings 1, 2, 3. So I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to pick the boning and I'll place it here. I'm just going to be stitching on top of the boning, okay. So the stitch for this type of bone casing is going to be showing at the good side, okay. When I sew, I'm going to show you guys. So guys, we are done sewing in all of the bonings. As you can see, I've sewed all of the bonings on the wrong side. So now I'll flip it over to the right side so you guys can see. Like I said, all of my stitches are going to be showing on the good side, okay. All of my stitches are actually showing on the good side. So now after doing that, so you see I sewed all the bonings to all of my style lines. Then you are going to sew everything to your style line, okay. So I'll flip it to the good side now. So I'm going to show us what next to do. So another way to also do this to make it look really, really beautiful after stitching your boning on the wrong side, you can use embellishment. Now you can buy beautiful embellishment in the market and use it to embellish all of these parts. That is another way of doing it if you don't want to use a bias strip. So I'm going to now be placing my bias strip like so to sew. Can you see? So I'll just place all of my bias strip. I'm stitching my bias strip on top or against the sewing of the boning. So these are the bonings on the wrong side, okay, and this is the stitch of the boning showing on the good side. So I said you can either use embellishment or you can decide to use bias to cover them up. So I'm going to just be cutting out my bias like so. So I'm just going to do this. So now I can now sew my bias onto it, okay. So this is really simple, guys. Like I said, this tutorial is beginners friendly. So I'm just going to cut all of my bias strip, okay. Can you see? So any kind of style line you want, just do it. Just be creative. So I'm just cutting my bias strip on top of all of the boning casing which I've sewn at the back. So now this is it. So you have to try as much as possible to sew really, really close to the edge, okay. You have to try as much as possible to sew close to the edge of your bias. And remember, this is now a stitch that is going to be outside, and this is like the finishing of your corset, okay. So you need to sew this. You have to make sure you check your machine to make sure your machine has a really good stitch, okay, so that you can have a nice stitch on the outside of your corset. So guys, now I've sewn all of my bias strip to my fabric right now. Okay, so you can see the style line which I created. So you can do any kind of style line that you wish. So here's how the wrong side is still looking. The wrong side is still looking the same. Okay, so just ignore the wrong side because we are going to be using lining. Okay, so but the good side should be looking really neat and nice. Okay, so this is how the good side is looking at the moment. So the next thing that we're going to do is to start fixing in our cup right now. So the next thing we need to do is to fix in our cup. So I'm going to bring my cup. I'll move this aside. I'll keep this one aside. So I'll bring my cup. Remember the last time I actually put a mark here to know my side cup. So I'm going to bring my ready-made bra cup now. So I'm going to now bring my ready-made bra cup. Remember, we are working with bust 36 here, okay? So my bra cup is actually 36. So that's all you should do. So I'm going to place them both together like so. I'll bring this one, I'll place it together like so, okay? So now this is what you do. So I'm going to move all of the allowance at the top, okay? All of the allowance is going to be at the top. So I'm going to make sure I align the bottom part. So the first thing you do, I'll close my cup into 2 equal half, okay? I'm going to bring the middle to the middle. That is what I do. And I'll pin, okay? So if you watch closely, you see that your cup has sewing allowance. You see all of this line, that's the sewing allowance, the factory sewing allowance which was already created in your cup, okay? So that is very, very important. So I'll turn over again. I'm looking for the center cup. So I'm going to make sure my cup, this is the side cup right now that has this chalk that I labeled it. So I'm going to turn it over. So I'm going to make sure my cup is looking like so. Can you see? I'm going to bring it a little bit down because I'm going to be curving a sweetheart neckline, which is very important. So at the center cup area, this is what my cup is going to look like. You see, I have more allowance here so that it to enable me to give it a nice shape. It's just like me. Let me explain to you guys. So this is a cup right now, okay? So it's just like me doing something like this to shaping it. Can you see? I'm just flipping my cup a little bit. So I'll bring it back, my side cup, that's my side cup. So my cup is going to go higher on the side, okay? But I'm still going to leave sewing allowance at the top. So I'll do this, okay? So this is the center part. You see the way I've placed it. I have more allowance at this center part that I have at this side part. So I'm going to pin it at this bottom part like this. So just see, make sure you have allowance here and more here. So this is how my cup is placed. So I'll first pin the bottom part, okay? So if you have any more questions, if you find this confusing, just ask me. I'll be glad to answer every of your questions. So I'm going to start arranging my cup, okay? Like so. Remember, this side is my side. That is why it's going up higher on that side and it's coming down low on this center cup. So this is what you do. So I'll just put some more pins to keep it down. So after doing this on the inside, you are going to try as much as possible to arrange it on the outside. Just watch what I'm doing. See, I'm trying not to have any bubbles. Yeah, I don't know if that's the right word. I'm trying not to have any bubbles at all. Like, I want to smoothen it as smooth as possible, okay? So I'm just going to keep doing this, okay? Just watch closely what I'm doing. This is really easy, guys. After pinning the cup at the bottom, you're just going to start arranging like so. Can you see? So I'll give it a really good, you take your time in doing this. Don't rush it, okay? Don't rush. You see, I have enough allowance at the top than I have at the bottom, okay? I'll go over it again. On the side of my cup, the side cup, my cup is higher than the center cup. You see, I slope it down around there. So I'm going to still come back to the front side, arranging it to make sure I don't have any bubbles, or I don't know how to explain that. like no part is rumpled, like it's looking really smooth and nice. So if you have your corset cup drafted properly, you won't find much trouble in doing this. Okay, so can you see? So this is what you have now. Can you see? So I'll repeat the same step for the other one. Exactly what I've done here, I'll repeat it for the other cup. Okay, then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine. Then what I do now is to take it to my sewing machine and sew. Okay, I'm going to sew like this. I'm going to now sew around the sewing allowance just to secure them both together. Okay, like I said, there's a sewing allowance inside of this cup, so I'm going to sew like this, sew like this, sew like this. Okay, so you see the allowance that I have at the upper part. So I'll repeat the same step for the other one, then we'll take it to the sewing machine and sew. So I've arranged the both of my cup, guys. So this is what we have after arranging it. So you want to try as much as possible to smoothen it. Okay, so this is what I have on the inside. Okay, so as you can see, my cup is sloping to one side. I don't know if you guys understand that part. You can see on the center cup, I made it to slope downwards. Okay, let me put the camera closer if that will make it better. Okay, see, I have more allowance on this side, can you see? And on this side, I did that on the center cup. So this is what I will have. So this is my side cup. So see where I put my notches, my side and another side. So this is the reason why I did that, so that when I shape my corset cup, I will have something like this. Can you see? So you have a nice and beautiful shape of your cup. Can you see that? So when I finish sewing and I shape it, I will now have something like this. Okay, so that is why I had to slope it to one side. So this is a very, very nice and easy trick for you guys to follow. You see some people, when they make corset, that part will just be looking so straight. There's no obvious nice and beautiful shape. Okay, so after I've done this, the next thing you will do now is to take this now to my sewing machine. Okay, I want to secure it together. I want to secure the cup together with the corset cup. Okay, I want to secure them both together before I take it to the body to sew it together. So we'll move over to the sewing machine. Let's do that. So like I said, there's a seam allowance around our cup. You are just going to follow that seam allowance, so don't miss that. So I'll just take off my pins as I sew. Okay, and make sure to follow the same allowance. Don't sew above the same allowance line that you have in your cup. So this is what I have now. They are both secure together. I'll do the same thing for the other one. So guys, I've sewn the both cup together. Okay, so you can see exactly what I've done. I did not sew the upper part just from here to here, and I followed the exact same allowance that I have on my cup. Okay, so this is what the good side is looking like. This is what it's looking like. So I still have the opportunity to smoothen it. Okay, that's why I didn't sew the upper part. I don't need to sew it, but from the way I've arranged it, is really well secured. It's not going to move. Okay, so I'll just smoothen it. I still have the opportunity to still do that if I want to. I'll still put in a couple of more pins if I want around all here to keep the body together. Okay, so this is what I have. So the next thing you want to do now, after securing your cup together with the sewing machine, you bring this one, you bring the body. Okay, so now it's time to work on the body. You are going to now bring the body like so. Then you place your cup, you find the middle of your cup like so. Okay, this is the middle. You want these two sewing, you want them to align. You want to place this middle sewing, this middle seam in your cup. You want to place it also here in this middle. So but you are going to look for the side cup. Okay, so this is another issue. You see, I was already placing that one here. You have to be cautious. This is the side cup, which should go to the side. So I'll bring it, I'll place it here, middle to middle. Now I can pin. I'm still going to follow the same seam allowance around my cup, okay? That's the same way I'm still going to sew it. So I'll do the same thing for this one. I'll also try as much as possible to smoothen this other side. I'll smoothen it. So you see my mark, that's my side cup. Okay, so this is how it's looking on the good side. Okay, this is what we have. So I'll still smoothen it around there. So I'll place it the middle to middle again as well. I'll pin. Okay, so all I need to do now is to just go and start sewing round, and we'll move over to the sewing machine. Let's sew that to see what we have. Okay, so let's move to the sewing machine. Good. So I'm just going to keep sewing from one end to the other end, guys. So I'll keep sewing from one end to the other end. And then you want to make sure you are sewing on the side of your cup. Don't always miss that, so that you can follow the seam allowance. That seam allowance on your cup is what is going to give you a really perfect, nice shape. Okay, so you must sew on that sewing allowance. Don't sew above the sewing allowance line. Okay, they created that sewing allowance for a reason. Don't sew above it. So I'm just going to maintain the same sewing allowance line around my cup. Okay, so just keep following the curve slightly, gently. Don't rush. Remember, if you're a beginner, when you're sewing curve, you have to be nice and easy. Okay, so I'll just keep going on the sewing allowance line. I'll keep going until I get to the top. Okay, you just keep going until you get to the top. Okay, so as you can see, my cup is matching up properly with the body of my corset. Okay, they match up properly on this side. So I hope you guys are seeing what I'm doing. Okay, let me move it a bit. Okay, so as you can see, they are matching up properly on this side. Okay, so I'll continue to sew from this other end. Okay, so I'm bringing it back, and I want to sew on the wrong side from the cup area. Okay, so I'm going to blend and see if they are blending up. Good, they are blending up. Okay, but if you notice that you must have drafted and they are not going to be equal, I always advise that you start to sew again from here. Just be sewing a little bit going. If not, you are going to have bubbles around there. So now that I've seen that my corset cup, they are matching up. Okay, they are matching up properly. Okay, the body of my corset is matching up properly. Can you see? I can sew from the up. I will not find any problem. But if you know that they are not matching, start to sew again from this middle part back to the up. Okay, so I'm also going to maintain the sewing allowance on the cup here. So you want to make sure you are catching the body at the bottom. So you want to make sure you are looking closely so that everything is laying flat and neat at the bottom. Okay, super. So now that cup is already sewn. Okay, can you guys see? So one cup is already attached now. Okay, so one of our cup is already attached. As you can see, it's been attached to the body. This is what I have on the wrong side, so I don't know if you guys are seeing clearly. So one of this cup is already attached right now to the body. See, so the next thing I'm going to do is to also attach the other cup. So as you can see, it's looking all nice and beautiful, but I'm going to shaping it so you guys will understand the reason why I said you should leave enough space at the side as the center cup. Okay, so we'll go over to the sewing machine again and we'll join the second cup together. Now our corset cup, they are both sewn together already, like so. So here is the wrong side. So here I'm just trying to trim all of the seam allowance on the inside just to avoid bulk. So I'm just trimming to avoid bulk on the inside, okay? So as you can see, I still have a lot of seam allowance at the top of my corset cup, which is very important. Like I said in the beginning of this tutorial, that seam allowance is very important because I'm going to be using it to shape a deep sweetheart neckline that is going to give my corset a perfect and very beautiful finish, guys. So don't always take your cup to the up of your corset cup, okay? So you need to leave those space at the top. So here I'm just going to show you guys. I'm going to be shaping it, and I'm going to be using my cup to deepen in that middle part. Okay, so I'll bring my tape measure. I want to measure. Remember, if you have watched part 1, when we started this pattern, I started my neckline by 6. Okay, I went up by 6 inches on my corset cup. That's exactly what I'm trying to show us here. I'm going to be able to arrange it. So I'm just trying to place the 6 inches here, and the underbust that I'm working with is 13.5. 13 inches, sorry. You want to be sure that your underbust is correct, okay? So because the half length is 15 and the underbust is 13, so now I have 13.5, which is really perfect. I'm going to be using ½ inch to stitch the lining at the top, okay? So when you place your underbust, and this is where you know your neckline, okay? So now my neckline is as deep as 6 inches. So I'm going to be dipping the middle part by 2.5 inch, okay, to give me a very deep and beautiful sweater. Yours can be lower than this. This is really not so much anyway. So I'm going to dip in it by 2.5 inch, okay, in that middle part. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. So make sure to measure to be sure that your neckline and your underbust, they are aligning, okay? So I'm just going to shape this in and shape with my chalk. Then I'll cut that out, okay? You can see after we cut, you will see that the beauty of our corset. Can you see? I'm just showing us here the way I arranged the cup. That was the reason I did that, so my cup doesn't obstruct any kind of neck shaping I'm going to be giving to my corset. That is why I went deeper when I was arranging my corset cup. So here I'm just going to cut out. So I'm still going to cut some more, okay? I'm still going to just cut some more. If you can see, our corset is taking shape, okay? I want a very nice sweetheart neckline. You should do this, guys. You should always do this so that your corset will have a really beautiful shape. You don't want to leave it straight, guys. You don't want to leave it straight. You need to give it a beautiful neck design. So that is what I'm just trying to do here. Okay, good, perfect. Can you see? So if you follow every process that I show you guys here about concerning this corset, you will never be able to go wrong in making a corset. Just practice. All you need to do is to practice, okay, and you will get it right. So now our corset is looking all nice and beautiful, okay? So the next thing that I'm going to be doing here now, I'm going to be bringing in my lining, okay, just to show you guys. I'm going to bring in my lining to show you guys that I've not joined my lining cup together. So just to explain to you guys that everything that I've done for my corset fabric, I'm also going to be doing the same process for the lining, shaping the neckline, the deep sweetheart, and also the both can align. So I'll join my lining and I'll also shape it the same way that I've shaped my outer fabric, okay? So here's the wrong side. So you can see at the wrong side, I still have seam allowance left at the top. This is very important because you are not going to be stitching your lining to your corset cup, to your already made cup rather. Your lining should be stitched to your fabric, okay, so that neck part area can relax. So I still have seam allowance at the top to work with even after shaping my neckline. This is a very easy trick, guys, okay? So yeah, I'm just trying to clean the chalk. I used the school chalk, which has really, like, it's putting a lot of dirt around my fabric. So I'm just trying to clean the chalk. This chalk is very difficult to take off from fabric. It's not like a tailor's chalk that wears off over time. So that's why I'm just cleaning all the chalk around it. So here I'm just trying to create a casing for my underwire. Okay, so underwire is very very important. You will notice when we insert the underwire, you see the cup will have a more lift. Just watch this cup here closely. You see that it's facing down. Can you see that the cup is laying down on the table? So, and I also want you guys to see the effect of the underwire. Okay, it's going to give this cup a lift. It's going to give this corset cup a really lift. You can see that it's laying down the table. When we insert the underwire, it will be different. So I'll take it now to the sewing machine and I'll sew my casing around my cup. Okay, so here my casing has been sewn, okay, around my cup already. I've sewn my casing around my cup. The next thing that we need to do here now is to start inserting the under wire into the casing. Okay, so I'm just going to take my underwire and I'll start inserting it into the cup. So can you see now the cup is lifted up from the table? I don't know, I needed to bring that out for you guys to see. That's the effect of the underwire. It gives your bra cup a lift. Okay, can you see the cup is no longer falling down towards the table like it was before we added the underwire, guys? So you should always get your underwire to work with your corset. It gives it a more lift. Okay, it's not as if you cannot make a corset cup without underwire, but underwire is very 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 necessary to give you that perfect fitting, that perfect look as a cup. Okay, so here our corset is sitting pretty, it's looking all nice and beautiful, guys. So the next thing that I'm going to be doing now, I'm just showing you guys here the lift. Okay, you can see the cup has lifted up. That's the effect of the underwire. So always get underwire to buy in the market. I think you can find underwire to buy in any market around you. So I'm just going to bring the back pattern. I'm just going to try to create some style line at the back. Yeah, I'm already exhausted, guys, trust me. I wanted to make this video once and for all so that I can upload it, but NEPA was not friendly. They kept taking the light up and down, and so it wasn't really easy. So yeah, I was kind of really tired because I have some other works to do, but I just wanted to get this done and over it. So now I'm just trying to see if I can create some more beautiful style line at the back. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So I'll take it to the sewing machine and I'll sew. Now I've just sewn. I just did one style line guys. I just did one style line because I needed this video to be uploaded today. So I just did one style line. So I'm going to be placing it together with the front. Okay, so I'm going to place them both together, right side facing each other. So I'm going to shape it. I'm going to put all of my measurements. Okay, so as you can see, the back is not matching up with the front at the middle, which is very important. Remember, when we drafted this pattern, we took away some inches away from the back because we are going to be lacing it. Like I said, it needs space to breathe. Okay, so that is why you can see that the middle at the back is open. That is the reason for that. So I'm going to be connecting my measurements. I just measured my waist. Remember, we are working with bust 36 and we are working with waist 28 or 29 rather. I can't remember at the moment, guys. So I'm using a voiceover, okay, because the generator noise was so much, so I had to keep recording That's why I'm doing a voiceover right now. So I'm just going to put my measurements together, I'll pin it, then I'll take it to the sewing machine to go and sew. So this video is already getting so long. So every process I've done for the outer body, I'm going to repeat the same process for the lining part. Okay, I'm just pinning it around here. So I'm going to do the lining off camera, but trust me, everything I've done here, I'm going to do it for the lining.